Students have studied 12, 13 years in their home country, and they're ready to do something different. They're ready to see the world.
Hello, and welcome to the 6th and final episode of the Study Social. My name is Rachel, and I've been your host for this series on starting your journey as an international student. Today we're talking about study tips and achieving success as an international student. Your studies and academic life will be a huge part of your time at ONCAMPUS, and it's important to know what to expect before you start. We've got some fantastic tips on managing your study time and achieving success from our expert team. We'll be talking to Peter, Director of Partnerships and Progression for ONCAMPUS, and Jenny, Head of Learning and Teaching at ONCAMPUS Aston. Firstly though, let's hear from some students about their top tips for study success.
I've been utilizing online platforms such as Quizlet. Using flashcards I think will definitely help me because there are a lot of information that I need to learn. And I think it all comes down to just repetition.
You need to find your own study technique, because when you need to do your own study and your own work, doing it your own way that helps you and makes the information make sense for you will be very, very useful time-wise and to also help you manage your effort.
Jenny Bashford is the Head of Learning and Teaching at ONCAMPUS Aston. She gave me some brilliant advice on making sure that you are prepared for your studies before starting. She also explained some of the differences that students might face while studying in the UK compared to their home country, and how best to adjust to these changes. So hi Jenny, thanks very much for joining us today for our 6th episode of the Study Social. Today we're talking about study tips for students and achieving success. How would you recommend that students might prepare for their studies before they start their course?
I think first of all, when you're picking to study anything, one, you need to be sure that you've got the skill set to do it. And secondly, you've got to find the subject enjoyable, because if you enjoy it, you're going to want to do it and want to put that extra work in. So I think the top tip I would say is to research, first of all, very carefully what you want to study, and then when you've chosen that, what that course actually entails. And of course, practice your English as much as possible, because you're going to be studying in English. So, you're trying to be as fluent as you possibly can before you're fully immersed in the culture and the new language.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice. What differences can students expect in the kind of academic and teaching style on campus?
Once in the UK, we like you to be active learners. So we don't want you just sitting there taking notes. We want you contributing. We want you asking questions. We do a lot of pair work where you might be talking through concepts with your partner. It might be somebody you don't know, you've never met before. And that's brilliant because it gets you talking to somebody else. It gets you practicing your English. It gets you making new friends. And it gets you talking about your learning. And the other thing I always say to students, there's nothing wrong in having a go. Even if you're wrong, have a go. No one's right 100% of the time, and we learn by making mistakes. So be confident to have a go, please. We like you to sort of go back over your notes while it's still fresh in your mind. And the benefit, of course, of doing that is if you've not understood something, you've realised you've not understood it straight away, and then you can come and talk to your tutor. I think the worst thing anybody can do is leave it for weeks and weeks and then prep for an exam and still not understand it. So by just reading ahead, back reading after a lesson, that will really help you be prepared.
Yeah, it's that next step, isn't it, into education that students will learn as soon as they start, how different that might be. I think there's some great tips in there. But I really like the part about how, you get more involved and you can have a bit more of a say, and you have that independent style of learning, which can really enhance a student's experience, rather than just sitting there and doing the reading and listening to a teacher, really getting involved. And I think that's such a key lesson to learn before starting any university course, but specifically with the UK education system, I think that's something they'll really need to learn before starting their degrees.
And I think as well, we're very friendly. We like that rapport with students. Another thing students will find as well, we have student reps for each course because we value student feedback. And then the tutor can sort of adapt practice to suit that group's needs if need be.
That's brilliant. So the students really do have a say in how it runs then, and
Absolutely,
their voice
yeah.
is always heard. Is it easy for students when they start to get involved in that student rep program?
So, for example, at Aston, my colleague Hannah heads up the student support services, and we have student meetings, let's say maybe every 8 weeks, something like that. The student reps from each course come along, and I sit in on these meetings as well. So we can look at things from both a pastoral and an academic side. So once students start, Hannah puts out an email, we have student newsletters, and students can put their names forward to be that student rep.
So finally then, what do you think is the best piece of study advice that you've ever received?
I would say this is study advice, but also life advice. Be organised and plan your time so you're on top of your studies, and then you'll achieve well, you won't have any worries, and you'll have a good work-life balance as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenny. It's been really nice to speak to you.
It's been lovely to talk to you as well. Thank you, Rachel. It's been good fun.
Peter McLaughlin is the Partnerships and Progressions Director at ONCAMPUS and also oversaw the success of students at ONCAMPUS London during his time there as Centre Director. I spoke to him about what he thinks success means and how ONCAMPUS supports students to achieve this. Hi Peter, thanks very much for joining us today for our final episode of the Study Social. This week's episode is specifically on study tips and achieving success. What do you think success looks like for an on-campus student?
Real success is really down to every individual because it means different things to each person. We all have our own personal goals, personal objectives, but self-accomplishment is what success would be, I think, and look like. As an educationalist, academic accomplishment, gaining good qualifications and that degree, this will lead to academic success and personal success, that personal satisfaction of having known that you've thrived and grown and become more confident. And with that, happiness, I suppose.
And how would you say on campus helps support students to achieve success?
Well, the experience I've had with quite a few years now with On Campus is that we are particularly focused on quality of opportunities for our students. And with that also, all our programs, all our centres, all our staff and everything we do has a focus on the individual learner to thrive and grow and accomplish, so achieve more in everything they do. So all our courses are structured to support students trying to develop the important skill sets. We have subject teaching timetables, English language classes, academic writing skills and workshops, but importantly being taught a program to identify subject issues of global importance and global problems to encourage students to question and then be creative in expressing those solutions. Academic and the pastoral staff were passionate to support that academic learning and achievement, accomplishment.
Great, thank you. And following on from that, how do the skills that the students learn from studying on campus, how does that help them in their future careers?
Well, of course, now this part of the 21st century, I think the world is changing, the world has changed and the skill sets are going to be different. So this is what's good about On Campus and our university partners, because we have that focus on future career progression and development, not just onto the degree, but the professional career that one's career goals are. So we would look at opportunities with our experienced progression counsellors and personal tutors. So we have classes and tutorials with one-to-one appointments to make sure one is making the right decisions and facing the right choices, and then that final progression and decision onto the degree and that professional career, inspiring and supporting learners to accomplish their best potential and achieve those goals.
Finally then, what's the best piece of study advice or a study tip that you've ever learnt?
I think having the right mindset is important towards study and learning, and having a passion for learning, whatever level, whatever subject, whatever ambition and goal. Study smart, not longer. Effective studying requires learning study skills and techniques, study habits that have to change and adapt to a new learning environment. Minimize distraction. We live in a digital age now, Rachel, we know that, and having distraction everywhere every time it makes it difficult to concentrate and focus. So channeling those energies and not become a victim of distraction or addiction is important. Final tip on that would be for studying is dig deep. Always dig deep into the knowledge. Don't just take it for granted if it's in the textbook or because Mr. Peter has said it. Check the facts, attempt to question everything and be curious. Seek what is actually true. Never stop learning. And what I've learned always is to be adaptable and learn more, and always enjoy learning, whatever age and stage, now and the future.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's a really nice bit of advice to end on. So thanks very much for joining us today, Peter. Thanks very much to both our guests today on all their advice on the effective ways to study. This was our final episode of the first season of the Study Social, and we hope it's given you some reassurance and some tips about starting your journey as an international student. If you found this series useful, then please leave a review or comment wherever you listen. You can find all our previous episodes from this season on our Spotify and YouTube channel, The Study Social, where you can follow us and subscribe and check out our Instagram at The Study Social Pod. Thanks for listening, and make sure you look out for Series 2.